Hello, everybody. Welcome to what will now be episode 5 of Beyond the Homepage, the podcast that I've been promising everyone I would start for years and finally got to it in 2026. My guest today is Kim Brough, who I've been working with now for, I think, about 5 or 6 years. Is that about right?
Something like that, you know.
We met on Radio Cumbria, who we both literally were on the same show to talk about what we do as a business ourselves. And although I don't think we worked together that soon from there, I realized not long after that that I needed some support in terms of my invoicing and my financial management, which Kim's been managing far better than me for several years now. But Kim also started her own SEO business, which I think was about 3 years ago now. Is that about right?
Yeah, you've got a good memory,
Um,
Chris. Yeah, that's right.
yeah, I'm roughly in my own mind starting from there. And we've worked together now on quite a few joint projects, and often they've either been ones, most I think that you brought to me. I feel as if you've given me more clients than I've given you in return at this point. Thinking of the ones that we've worked on, but certainly I know they've loved what you're doing and have never, you know, seems to it works really well for what they're getting out of it. So that's fab. Do you want to introduce yourself a bit and just tell us a little bit about what you're up to and where you came from, what you're doing?
Yeah, so my name's Kim. As Chris says, I have been running my own businesses now for about 7 years. I started off as a virtual assistant and 7 years ago, and then a few years ago, I started doing SEO, which kind of fit in nicely with my background. I've always done, or almost always done, marketing. And SEO was an area of marketing that I was particularly interested in. I'd always done bits of it under the VA banner, and I decided eventually that actually this is the bit I really like about marketing, and so I'd really like to offer this as a more specific service for people who needed it. My background, well, starts off really actually. I started at drama school for university, and so kind of fell into marketing not long after I left there. Started doing some marketing for a small international charity. And then when I moved back up to Cumbria, I started working for one of the independent holiday cottage letting agencies, Sally's
Yeah.
Cottages. Um, Honed my marketing skills a little bit further there, and then various circumstances meant that I went freelance for a while whilst I was working for them, and I enjoyed it so much that I just decided to take the plunge and go
Good
freelance
idea.
entirely and take on more clients. So that was
Well,
nice.
has that worked out well? You don't, have you got any regrets from
Worked
leaving
out
that?
perfectly. Yeah, it was a big change, big scary change at the time, but it's worked out really well, and I wouldn't go back.
No, I don't think many of us would. I think most of us wouldn't be able
Yeah,
to go back to employment now. I think we'd struggle to take work tasks from somebody else that we didn't. That was just not what we wanted to be doing. So where
exactly.
did you? So who was your first client in terms of SEO? Where did that first person come from?
So my first client was actually someone obviously you know very well was Keswick Adventures.
Right. Yeah.
So they run activities, kind of outdoor adventure activities in the Lake District. I worked with one of the directors at Sally's Cottages actually, and then they approached me to help them with their website in generally, but their SEO more specifically. They were just kind of starting out at that time,
Mm.
and it's a big competitive area, and so they asked if I could help them get them out there, um, just get them more visible. And now they're the leading activity provider in Keswick and one of the tops across the Lake District as well. And obviously, Chris, you know, a few years ago, we worked together on a project to revamp their website and make
Mm.
it even more professional and really make them stand out as the people to go to in the area.
I should really get some more statistics off you on that one because I've not dug into that one with you for a while to check what they're up to. But I mean, they've never come back to me for a while with anything problematic, so I always assume that's a good sign.
Yes.
So that's and I know you've. I think one of the benefits that I've had working with you is that you've got the technical skill set as well. So you've been able to pick up the management of those websites and any of the SEO changes in the content and the blogs, rest of it without like I don't recall any problems with it. Really, you've asked me a lot of questions, but you've taken that and run with it all the time. So a lot of the people that have come in and have got either themselves doing it or somebody else, they don't always have that that skill set or that transferable skill set to do it. And that's from my end of it's been great because I can actually give you the trust in being able to do that well because I've had clients over the years that have, oh, we'll manage it or we'll do it all ourselves. And you look back and you go, you've ruined that website. It looks horrible. What have you done to it? And I literally don't want to put that in my case studies at that point. And there's none recent. It's probably gone back 8, 9, 10 years since that happened. But certainly, I look at it now and I don't see it. That it all looks as good as it did when I first did it. Um, so was that your first time where you maybe thought the SEO was something you would be able to look at more?
Yeah, I guess that was kind of the way that I found that, oh, I can do this and I can do this well. I really gave me the confidence to step out and do it a bit more. I mean, I dabbled when I was working for the charity. I'd taken a lot of interest in it when I was working for Sally's Cottages. For bits, I did bits and pieces for, there's a bit of a crossover where I was dealing with content on other people's websites as well. And there's a bit of a crossover there between SEO and just website updates and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And with Keswick Adventures being my first big project and being so successful, it was like, well, it kind of
There's something here. I
eliminated the
can do
imposter
something with this.
syndrome a little bit.
Because it's quite a different approach, isn't it? Obviously, from the VA perspective, as much as you might give people some suggestions on how to improve their own processes that you're working with, the SEO one, it's like you are telling them what needs to be done. They might say to you, oh, you want more traffic or whatever, more visitors or more conversions, but actually you're the one that's got to bring the expertise in to say, right, in order to do that, this is what we've got to do. And
Yeah.
that seems quite a different approach to the VA side, I suspect, in terms of
Yeah, it can be a bit more, I guess, active, but not that VA
yeah,
stuff is passive, but I mean, you're as a VA, my approach was always to fit in with the client so as seamlessly as
yeah.
possible because that's what they were looking for most of the time, whereas the SEO clients are looking for change, and obviously they've brought me on board first from a strategic point of view as well as the actual going in there and doing what needed done.
Yeah. How many? So I've been just literally going to drop all these questions. We don't plan these things at all, so this is kind of why I quite like doing them. How many clients have you got on board now in terms of the SEO work overall?
So it's be about half a dozen that I work with. So it's
Yeah.
quite a small select group of people, but I quite like that because I do like to work with I guess people who are looking for a real close one-to-one feel about it. It's a lot
Yeah.
of kind of individual business owners or small businesses with just a couple of people in it, and a lot of local people as well, which
I
is
think
always
that's
good.
certainly, I mean, I know SEO to me is very similar to marketing. I find it difficult to find people who I actually trust can deliver. And over the years, I mean, I'm into my 13th year of business now, and I've still only got 3 people I work with for SEO, 4 people I work with for SEO. And it's definitely like there's a lot of stuff out there. People promise the earth,
Yeah.
and literally you look at it, what you've not delivered anything. And it's a big bugbear of my own. I see, although I'm not driven by my own competitors directly, I do see a lot of people who release a project, tell everyone how amazing the search results have been after a week of launch, and you drop that website into the tools that we've got, and you go, they're not getting anything. Like they're not
Mhm.
getting any traffic. There's zero traffic, and you look back over 12 months ago, there's nothing happening to this website. But that client somehow believes that they're getting amazing results. I'm like, what are they looking at? Because they're not getting anything at all. And unfortunately, people fall for that and assume that this amazing thing's been done. And I'm always keen to showcase the evidence of it rather than just say we've done it. It's like here's the actual results of our work. And I know, for example, the Keswick Adventure stats, some of them are nuts. I mean, look at the figures that they get now. They're ridiculous. Like the numbers on there are
Yeah.
almost unbelievable numbers, but genuinely it is genuine traffic that, we know comes in. And I can
Yeah, and
run.
it's sorry. Yeah,
No,
I
no.
was just I mean it's obviously something we've discussed before is how you do approach those figures because you want to there's a lot that plays into SEO, and a client came to me not too long ago to say that she'd noticed her ranking for one keyword was really dropping, and why was that? And it wasn't one keyword, sorry, it was for a collection of keywords overall, and this is in search results. And I was like, yes, that is, and there's definitely room we can improve on that. But also, you'd actually, if um, you looked at the traffic that she was getting and the keywords that were actually dropping off, they were less relevant to her business.
Yeah.
So actually, when you looked into a bit more detail, you could see that actually she was doing better because she was getting more targeted traffic that were actually going to convert. And
Yeah.
it's there's an like I give a report every month for my clients to show them where they stand in various areas in KPIs and what they want to see and what's useful. And there's a bit of a balance there between giving them a good overall view, but also not going into too much detail that's overwhelming.
Mm.
And I think there's a balance there to help people understand that and the
Yeah.
nuances of it.
It's an area again that's so full of it's not even just jargon, it's just I'm always going to use the term vanity metrics.
Sure.
And a lot of, not so much now, but a lot of clients still have a perception of the words that they want to be found by.
Yeah.
And I'm not being found by these terms. Like, well, that's because that's got nothing. Nobody's looking for those terms.
Yeah.
Like, why would you want to rank for something that nobody ever searches for
Well,
and has no
exactly. Yeah.
relevance to what your business is? Whereas actually, if you look at these ones that you are ranking for, they're the ones that your clients come from.
Yeah.
And it's getting them into that awareness because it's certainly not so much now, I get that, but years gone by, people did come to you with, here's what you want to rank for. It's like, you can't tell me that unless you're an expert, knowing that that's worth it. And that report that you give them for definite, some I see stuff that's like it's like 50 pages long, and it's like I don't even understand half of that. And it's working out exactly what that does need to look like for these people. And as you say, who's reading it?
Yeah.
Because that audience that you've got to write for is key because otherwise you're going to give them something that they just put in a corner and never look at anyway. So um what do you find, I suppose, what's the biggest challenge at the moment? Because I know Google, for example, are always changing their algorithms in terms of how they're evaluating where you are in search, and then obviously all this AI stuff's popping in now. I've got my own thoughts on that a lot, but how have you found that, say, the last 18 months of things in terms of how it's changed?
So yeah, it's been quite difficult in the sense that there's a lot, obviously there's a lot of change out there. There always has been, but with the AI, that's kind of escalated massively. And there are a lot of good people out there doing testing and trying to understand how to rank well. And there's a lot of information out there, but there's also a lot of people out there who are saying one thing when really
That's
there's
always
no way
right.
they could know that or they haven't
Yeah.
tested enough. So it's kind of obviously you do to keep on top of this, you do a lot of reading and webinars and things like that and learning. And it's trying to pick out what's going to work for your clients because obviously there's very huge the large kind of really big agencies they have the capacity to do loads of testing and then smaller agencies like mine um, can use that information and learn from that information without necessarily doing the
Yeah.
huge in-depth testing that these big organizations can do. But then sometimes you've got to kind of filter out what's going to work and where they've really got the genuine information and where they're just guessing. Um,
Yeah.
and but I think what I've seen as well is that even without even without I might mean a specific focus of it. So people are so very focused on AI specifically now. And personally, I don't think that's the right approach because even though,
Mm.
yes, lots of people are using AI, they're not necessarily using it to buy things all the time.
No.
Um, and there's still an awful lot of people using more traditional searches like Google and other search engines and that kind of thing. And I think it's important not to ignore those just because there's a new toy in the game. And I think what I found is that by just using good SEO practices and continuing to use them and adapting slightly, but not needing to change absolutely everything, you're still ranking for AI um, those AI searches where they're relevant.
Yeah, I would agree with
Um,
that. I've
yeah,
said that. I don't know if it's a social post, but certainly I think if you've approached SEO well from the beginning, you're already going to be showing up in AI because it's not suddenly using different. It's the same. It's going for the same data sources. That data source was great for Google search. It's probably going to be pretty good for AI. So I mean, there's slight element changes to it, but if you are appearing for answers as answers to questions in search, then you're going to probably be appearing for answers in AI search as well.
Well, and
And
a
I
lot of
found,
a lot of the AI searches are using Google as
yeah,
well. So
because they have to, because that's where the data's from. And I
yes.
mean, I'm quite a slow adopter to certain things, and AI has been one of those ones that even it's only been this year that I've really started to find some of the useful points for me. And it's not necessarily content SEO based, but when I do go onto the browsers to do search, I am starting to appreciate like the AI answers stuff at the top where I'm still going to go look at the websites, but
Yeah.
it's going to give me a bit more of a drive and an info dump than me having to click five. So that's I'm beginning to see that side, but it's not giving me anything different in terms of the sources I end up going to than if I just looked at the Google stuff beneath it.
Mhm.
So yeah, definitely if you've been doing it well for a while, it's not really a huge change, if any, to worry about it from that AI side. Um, where thinking of, I suppose, the clients that you've got, where do you see when they come to you, where are they and what do you bring that perhaps they weren't doing before?
Um, so I think a lot of the people I work with, they're at a stage where they're growing a business, it's going well, but they're kind of either they're reaching a limit in some way, either they're not sure what they need to do to continue that growth effectively, or they've maxed themselves out because
Yeah.
they're doing everything. And
Yeah.
obviously you can't be an expert at everything. You're trying
No,
to
no.
run your business and do your admin and do your finances and your HR, and it's just you can't do all of it. So a lot of people are kind of been doing or intended to have done their own SEO and marketing in general. And they've just either not got it done or they've tried like dipping into it, but just found it too confusing, or they're dipping into it in a way that they're doing a bit here and a bit there, but really there's no strategy and it's not.
Yeah.
It'll all be helping a little bit, but very, very slowly and not in a really effective way and the speed that they want.
Might not even help
Um,
sometimes. I've seen some of
yeah,
the results of what people try and do themselves. Like, I don't know why you've
exactly.
done that because that
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense to me. Never mind Google. Um,
Exactly. So yeah, that they're usually just ready to kind of they've realized I can't possibly do this all myself and
yeah.
please just do
So they
it for
tend to
me.
be established businesses, or have you ever like taken on a new start and built it from the stop, like the
I
beginning point?
no, they've all been going for at least a couple of years
Yeah.
when they've come to me because I think that's quite normal as well, especially with smaller businesses, because when you're starting off, you don't have a big budget, and SEO is a big scary thing that
Mhm.
can be difficult to jump into
Yeah.
for your marketing, I think, and putting budget into it when you're just starting out. So they usually have been going for at least a couple of years. One thing I'm doing actually with myself now is I've just launched a website called Ecocumbria,
I have
which
seen
is like
that.
a big
Yeah, yeah,
direct. You saw it, yeah.
yeah.
Like a directory for sustainable accommodation or sustainable shops and businesses and this kind of thing. And that's I'm really actually looking forward to that. I mean, it's a project I've been working on all year, so I'm looking forward to getting going because of that, but also because it gives me a good opportunity to really just start a website from scratch
Yeah.
from the SEO point of view as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that grows from the work that I'm doing from an SEO perspective as well, because I don't get to work with that very often.
No, I get that. I mean, I'm probably the same as it. You stopped, it's almost being able to do for yourself what we tell everyone else we should be doing for them.
Yes.
Um, I had a question. I'm trying to go back to it in my head to make sure I get what it was. Yeah, I mean, SEO is still a really difficult sell,
Yeah.
even for the larger businesses. Sometimes they don't always. They've either got no trust in it because I appreciate it's very, very easy to get burned on it.
Hmm.
It's very easy to pay somebody and get nothing out of it.
Yeah.
And generally, from my own experience of clients that I had one client many years ago who we told them from day one, look, this is only the start of it. If you want to actually get the results you've asked for, you're going to have to invest across at least a year to get them because you're starting from nothing. And they refused it. And then at the end of that year, came back and really basically said they'd wasted the money, they'd got nothing out of it, and it was a waste of time. It's like, well, what we did say at the beginning that you're not going to get a lot. This is the foundation of the work. It's
Yeah.
not going to get you results overnight. And I think even more now, there's more and more and more businesses out there who are even locally, the competitive nature of whatever business you're in 10 years ago, there's probably 10 times more of them than there was back then. And they've all got websites. So you're competing against that, all the time. Um, so I guess how much of it's keeping them ahead of the game, I think, is the big part of it because SEO is not just the same thing every month.
Yeah.
As other things change and Google change and AI turns up and everything else, and it's like, what's going to happen in 6 months? Having someone like you involved means they're ahead of that. You're already aware of those changes now, rather than having to come back and think, oh my God, look what happened 6 months ago. We've not caught up yet.
Yeah.
So it's that nudge all the time, isn't it? I suspect from what I'm aware of what you do.
Yeah, it is. It's again, it's the proactive approach, and I mean, there's always going to be fires to put out
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
Google does like to drop an algorithm update without any warning and doesn't tell you what it's going to involve, and there'll be reactive things to that. But I mean, it's putting in those good practices and making sure that they're really embedded in a site and not even just a website anymore. I mean, that's the thing about SEO and its development is that it's not just the website
Mm.
anymore. It's
People
it's
think it is.
off
Not
the
so much
site
now,
as
but even
well.
still now, it's challenging to get them to appreciate like it's not just that one.
Yeah,
It's holistic. It's across everywhere you exist
yeah,
to do it.
absolutely. Um,
Um, in terms of, I mean, this is going to be I mean, I know working with you, like, I think what I get from working with people like yourself and anybody else in this, I like the challenge back because you've come back to me with quite a lot of things going, this needs to be different. How do we change it? And I've gone, I've never done that before. How do I do it? So having somebody like you around means I'm actually making myself keep up to date in a field that I don't need to know the stuff you know. Like I don't want to be an SEO specialist at all, but I do need to know the parts of what you do that impacts my work.
yeah,
So that as far as I can going forward, make sure that the next project that I do has already got that question answered. So I don't have to keep coming back. All right, there we go. It's those little bits that I guess keep me in the right direction, constantly moving, whilst also making sure that I get for you what you need it to do. And I know for Kizik Adventures, one of the first things like, how do you do this? Like, I don't know how we do that. Nobody's ever asked me that in 12 years, but we got there, we made it work.
we did
And now
indeed. Yeah,
going
I call
forward, I
it.
know how to do that if anybody else has that same query. So, it's definitely not a one-sided thing. And actually, a lot of the stuff that you've asked me does get, even if they're not the same client, it gets rolled across many others who,
Sure.
I've got, all right, right, is that relevant? Who else is that relevant for? Right, I need to go back and address that across them all.
And I think
Um,
that's a great thing about working with you, Chris, that I find as well. Again, because I'm often working with little businesses, I often work with people who've just built their sites themselves
mm,
or had a developer involved years ago, but hasn't been involved with a while for a while. Whereas obviously when we're working together, a lot of the time it's with clients who have got the SEO and have got that support from
mm,
yourself for the website. And I think it's really good to have a developer who's there, not only just there in the background to deal with the really technical side of things but also who's so willing to do that and to take it further and to explore that. And I mean that's one of the things I think I really enjoy working with you over, and I
mm.
think it really benefits well your clients and my clients as
It's
well,
yeah.
even if they don't know that.
No. I mean, I get the occasional client who comes to me with their own SEO agency that they picked or their own internal person, and sometimes I do, as I said before, it's kind of a challenge to listen to what they're asking for and decide if it's my place to question it a little bit because sometimes that I there can be a clash there, and it's certainly for me. I mean, I'm always open to that. I can never, it's their client's website, it's not mine. If they want to work with somebody on that, that's not my decision. However, when I see sometimes what they're asking for, and I'm like, you wanted to do what? And I'm always a bit, really, is that actually what's that going to achieve? I'm a bit lost. That doesn't make sense to me. And sometimes their requests can be a little bit like, what? Like, it's still not my decision, but I'm a bit like, are you sure you want to do that? Um, and I'm sure they don't always appreciate me questioning them back because I don't think they're used to it. And you seem to, I don't get question very much, but I'll often ask you a question about what you're asking for to be like, really? But you're also quite good at the ticking that back to the way you don't seem to get, if you get annoyed with me, I don't see that in your emails anyway. And I hope it doesn't come back to the
No, and
way about
I think
content.
I think that's important when you're working together as well. You've got to, there's obviously going to be a lot of things that you will understand that I don't understand. I'll have a bit of a feel for the website design and development side of things, but obviously you know a whole lot more, and that's works on the flip side as well. Whereas you'll know a
Yeah.
little bit about this, but I'll have more detail on it, so we can kind of exchange that information and find what's going to work from both of those elements.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly as we've already said it, isn't it? It's the fact that if you ask me a question, unless it's like really techy, it's normally something that you will then go and just do yourself because you know how to do it going forward. And I think the Keswick Adventure site, that's been one of the more involved sites. That's quite a big, complex bit of kit now, that one. It's quite a big site to kind of manage, and it's quite complicated in terms of the design of it. It might not look that way, but certainly there's a lot of parts in there that they're not like the hotel one, for example, is a lot simpler in terms of how it's
Yeah.
built, whereas the Keswick Adventure one is a bit more complicated. Um, And as I say, knowing that you know how to do all of that, it's just easier for. I'd have to worry about it, and that's always been, a bit. I've said it already. It's been a good point of it all. Um, so I'm trying to think of a kind of an ending point to take on this, really. So if somebody wants to work with you, as an example, where do you start from, and what sort of time scale realistically does your work take to actually see something tangible? Because I know a lot of people still expect this to be like, oh, next week I want to be ranking for this term on page one, and it's never like it rarely, rarely, rarely works that way. What's the realism of SEO now? Have I paused? No.
No, I can still hear you. It's just stopping and starting. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, yeah, all good. Yeah. So what did you want me to ask that again?
Great. Um, yeah, so no, that's okay. I
Cool.
think I got it, but correct me at the end if I haven't.
I might do.
So if a client comes to me with they want SEO support, so my general recommendation is to start with an audit before anything else. That just kind of tells us what state the website's in, where we need to be, and it'll help us start forming a bit of a strategy. And then I always say at least 6 months
Mhm.
to get going on things, because that includes getting the audit and like looking at who your customers are and who you want to target and where the business wants to be, and getting the very basics ironed out first, a bit of a foundation there. And then that's not that you won't start seeing results before 6 months, but you've kind of got to give yourself that time, just because Google can take a while. Just Google. I use Google as a kind of a catch-all
Yeah, most
term,
people do.
but
Yeah.
the search engines, the AI engines, and all these things, they take a while to kind of bring in the information, and you're kind of clawing yourself up the rankings in a way, and it can take time, and it's got to be patient. A lot of say you've got to take this time and wait. It's not going to be immediate.
Mm.
Um, and you've yeah. So I think that's really important. It can be difficult to commit to that, but I generally ask people for a 6 month commitment
Yeah.
minimum
It's
to get that
certainly.
going, and obviously longer, and just kind of with the understanding that we can end the contract there if you're not happy, but it will keep on changing, and you can't kind of just
Yeah.
do a 6 months and then expect it to continue doing well without the ongoing work.
Yeah, that's another point of it. I think a lot of, no, I say that, but most people expect it to be an end point almost. Oh, we've done it all now, so you haven't, because your
Yeah.
competitor down the road is going to keep doing this next week and next week and next week, and you're not, and they're going to take over the top of it again.
Yeah, and not even
So
that. But Google's going to come out with another change next week, or there's going to be a new AI system that does something a bit differently in a year's time. And
yeah,
all these things are always changing, and it's a pain for for me and for any other SEO expert, but it's more of a pain for business who suddenly sees their rankings drop because,
Mm.
the advice was to put a load of AI content in, and then they did that, and then actually now the advice is to take all that AI content out, and
Yeah, that's
yeah,
the current one, isn't it?
that's
Claude's
the
going to
big one at
start
the moment.
watermarking everything it does so that it's going to then
Yes.
start telling everybody what they're doing. I think
Yeah.
that's a new EU directive somehow or other. I don't yet. I need to look at how that applies to websites because I'm not quite sure it applies to personally produced content, but I need to go and check on that and just see what that does
Yeah.
mean because I think that could be a very, very difficult one to not do for some people. But there we go. That's the nature of it. Um, yeah, I mean, certainly, I'm putting SEO back into my own business for the past 6 months to a year as well, and it's something that I want my clients to do and have not necessarily done myself. Um, I at the point of change a few years ago, I said I wasn't going to worry about my own ranking,
Okay.
which I had reasons for that because I kind of wanted to move away from a local focus, but then I realized I thought, nah, I need to be get my eye back on that a little bit again, and it has worked. Again, it did take about 6 months plus to get me certainly locally back at the top because I did drop off for a while. Even though ironically I don't get a lot of local clients now for
Mhm.
various reasons, but
Sure.
that's the nature of it. Um, but yeah, I think it's certainly it's like it's never going to be something that people shouldn't do almost because it's so fundamental to your website because nowadays if you haven't got one, it's almost a question of why do you not have one? And
Mhm.
there's almost less and less and less reasons now why you don't, and almost AI actually is even more reason to have one because it is the only place you can still 100% control what is there.
Yeah.
You cannot control what AI does with it. You can give it the right information. And if
Yes.
you don't give it a website where that information is correct and accurate and realistic, it's going to make it up from what it can find, and it invariably doesn't get it right. So as much as AI might be, or it doesn't make search irrelevant, it just makes your website even more relevant, and it makes the SEO even more relevant because if you're not getting it right, you haven't got that presence right, you're not going to get found by anybody at all. So yeah, it's not suddenly going to go away because AI turns up, which I think is probably the big thing that people need to think about all the time.
Yes.
Do you want to drop any last words in? I feel as if that AI bit's kind of a good place to finish, but maybe there's something I've not thought about.
Yeah, no, I think we've covered some good bits and pieces there. I guess just on the AI stuff, what's quite interesting there, and which is especially for businesses and their websites and their rankings, is that what's quite interesting is that a lot of the time you'll find that the websites that are at the top for traditional Google searches or traditional searches are not always the ones that are quoted in the kind of the AI snippets or in the chatbots or anything like that. So even though there's, I guess, less opportunity to show up in AI, there's also you don't have to be necessarily ranking if you're not already ranking right at the top of Google search, for example. You might have a better chance still of being shown in AI conversations.
Mm.
So it just gives another opportunity for businesses to be seen. It doesn't have to be
I
too.
think that's probably a good ending point almost is that I think the purpose of what you do is to ensure that that client can be found in the ways that people are looking for them.
Yeah.
And you can't do that on your own. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how well you think you can write your website and how amazing it might read to you. If you don't know what your ideal clients are actually searching for on those platforms, you're not going to get found by them.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, that's always been the same thing. It's not
Yes.
changed all of a sudden now that AI turns up. It's the same thing. I think the difference is now the types of things that people are asking are a bit more involved, I think, than what they
Yeah.
would have done on Google. So they're actually interrogating stuff a bit more.
Yeah.
And if you
Absolutely.
don't answer those questions in an authoritative way that actually makes AI go, they're the ones that know what they're talking about, then yeah, you're just going to be, yeah, it's that is where your skill set comes in. It's like, it's not about how nicely it reads for you as a business owner. It's what your
Mhm.
ideal clients need it to do for them.
Yeah.
And that's where that thing, it's not changed.
No.
How you approach it might have changed, but actually fundamentally, the website is still for your client, not you.
Yeah.
And that's
Absolutely.
where your work comes in, is making sure that your website is for the client and tells
Yes.
them everything they need to know so they don't have to go anywhere else because you've given them all the answers that make them trust you and pick you as a person to buy from, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which is the one. So um, I'm going to do the same. I'll always put people's contact details in the video description and stuff. So I'll pop your email and your website there.
Thank you.
So if anybody's got anything they want to ask about SEO, grab Kim.
Yeah.
If you want to work with Kim, same thing. I can certainly recommend her myself because I know the results that my clients have had and hers have had, vice versa.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, thanks for having
I
me.
look forward to speaking to you next time, but enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.